Good evening, everyone.
Hi everyone, welcome to Ask Grid episode 3. Once again, we are here this Saturday to answer all your questions related to the Australian property market. And guys, we have some exciting news to share with you, and you don't want to miss it out, so stay tuned till the end of the session. My name is Vinoli Obesekere. Joining me is my very good buddy, Rashmal Fernando, all the way from Colombo, Sri Lanka. And joining us today to answer these questions is the main man himself, Naveen De Silva, coming live all the way from Melbourne, Australia. So, guys, shall we get right into it?
Let's do it.
Super.
Vinoli, hi Navin.
Hi. So, Naveen, there is a question from Mr. Sharon. So, he did raise this question. Why are apartments more expensive than house and land packages? Is there any particular reason behind this?
Yeah, the reason is apartments are mainly located in the city. So if you look at Melbourne or Sydney, majority of the apartments are in the city, and the land prices in the city is extremely expensive. So as a developer, when they want to build this apartment project, they have to spend a lot on purchasing the piece of land, which means the apartments will be expensive. So that's a fair question, because if you look at Melbourne itself, you're looking at a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment for about 600 to 800,000 based on the location in the city. Whereas you go 30 minutes away and you might be able to get a 4-bedroom house for the same price or less. So that's a fair question, but the reason is the land which they purchase in the city or inner city is expensive, and majority of the apartments are in the city or within the 15 to 20 kilometer radius.
Okay, super. So the other question which was raised by the same client was, when I sent the packages out to him, his concern was, why is there two sales contract on house and land, and why there is one on apartments?
Yeah, so the reason is, let's take an apartment, right? Apartment is developed by one developer. They own the land and then they sell an apartment of the project they do. So there's only one contract with the developer and the client. Whereas house and land means you get a piece of land from the land developer and then you build a house with a builder, which means you have to sign a contract with the client and the land developer for the land, and then another contract with the client and the builder. So it's we call it a two-part contract. One is with the land developer, one is with the builder, and yeah, that's how it works.
Right.
And Navin, this is applicable for townhouses as well, right? Because townhouse also has one contract compared to house and lands having
Correct.
two contracts.
So it's similar concept. So even townhouse development, one developer will get the entire piece of land and build multiple townhouses. So then there's only one developer to have the contract with the client.
Yes. Navin, just a question from one of my client, Mr. Fonseca.
Yeah.
He's been asking about what's this full turnkey solution means in context of the property that we deliver to them, and what does it include on the facilities what we offer them, on the terms and conditions?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Full turnkey means you can pretty much, at the end of it, you can turn the key, move in, and enjoy your property. In other words, every single thing, including antenna, clotheslines, letterboxes, blind for the windows,
right,
landscaping, driveways, everything will be included. So there's nothing that an investor especially would have to do before they move into the house or rent it out. Because say, imagine, especially someone overseas investing in a house, and if you have to spend more or to take care of the blinds of the house, landscaping of the house, antennas, I mean, these are little things, right? They're very minor things, but then again, you cannot rent a property without those things, because there'll be, one is the time factor and one is the cost. So turnkey solutions is what we deliver for most of the clients, and that's what it is.
Right. So Naveen, now that you explained about the full turnkey solution, what about the layout of the house? When a client is purchasing a house, can they do a customized option for this as well? Maybe add in upper floor, extra room, make the room size bigger. Can you explain a bit about that? How does this work?
Yeah, it can be done on certain circumstances. So say, for example, if it's an apartment or a townhouse, as a developer, they would have taken the approval to do a specific design. And so not many changes can be done for an apartment or a townhouse. There are sometimes, depending on the time the client signs up, if it's very early stage, if it is possible, they will try to accommodate, but it's very unlikely if it is in the middle of the game. But whereas if it's a house and land project where you have to construct a house from the scratch, then let's say we give a 4-bedroom house, and if the client wants to make the master bedroom a bit bigger, then that is possible. So any customization is possible. I mean, if they want to do their own customized home, that is also possible, because we work with a variety of custom builders. Not everyone would do it, but it is possible.
And it all depends on the customer's requirement.
Yeah.
So Naveen, about now the apartments, you said townhouses you can't do much, but in case a client is in touch at the early stage of the building process, can they combine two apartments together? Can this be done?
Sorry, can you come again, Emily?
So let's say now we are in the early stage of constructing the apartments. So then can a client combine two apartments together and make it a bigger space if they are looking at, can we do something like that here?
Yes, it can be done if you can get in very early. So if it is in the pre-sale stage, if the construction has not commenced, then the developer can go back to the relevant authorities and get the approval for that. Say, for example, there's a 3-bedroom apartment and right next to it, there's a 1-bedroom apartment. If they want to combine the two and make a large 4-bedroom, it can be done most probably, but it really depends on when they ask that question and when that request comes in. If they have already started construction after getting all the required documentation, then it's very difficult. But if it's early in the game, most developers would definitely entertain it.
Right. Okay.
I mean, but would you have to go for 2 property investments for that? In the sense, going on for FIRB, stamp duty, would you have to go for 2 if you're combining 2 apartments together?
Now, that's a great question. No, the answer is no. Say for example, you have a 2-bedroom apartment for 600,000. There's a 1-bedroom apartment for 400,000.
Yeah.
Client wants to combine the two, right? So then it becomes a 3-bedroom apartment. There's only one title for that apartment.
Right.
So after the customization, it becomes one apartment, which means there's only one contract and only one approval has to be taken.
Okay, right. Also, Naveen, just coming up with the property appreciations. I mean, this is a question which most of my clients bring up. I mean, what's the guarantee we can offer them on the appreciations of this property and also whatever the suburbs they select on?
I wish we can give a guarantee, but in that instance, with the appreciation, no, you cannot give a guarantee. But then again, we are looking at statistics. We are looking at real data to back up what we recommend. I mean, we have all the systems in place. All the data is captured in Australian real estate. So, say for example, for the past 10 years, if someone wants to look at the appreciation on the particular suburb for a particular house type or a unit type, we can provide that information. We can provide the statistics because that will back up our recommendation and our projected in terms of appreciation. So we cannot guarantee an appreciation. I don't think anybody can, or anywhere in the world, unfortunately. But again, it's very important to look at the statistics and the past data on what has happened and what are the factors which will drive appreciation. So say, for example, if a particular suburb has already been developed, then there's no infrastructure developments to come in, the chances are the appreciation will be low in the next 5 to 10 years. Whereas if a particular suburb has train stations to come up, shopping centers to come up, there's major infrastructure like road networks or tunnels coming up, which will ease traffic, then there's a higher chance of having a very, very high appreciation. So we look at both aspects. We look at the historical data as well as the developments coming into place.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure it will always appreciate rather than depreciate.
Yes.
So now that you spoke about appreciation, Naveen, just a quick thing. Is there any particular like good suburbs you would recommend, if at all, if we have your investors coming in with us? So is there any particular one which you would definitely recommend that we are looking at like a really good appreciation in the coming years?
In Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, or Perth?
I'm talking example, let's say Melbourne.
Yeah. So in Melbourne, there are a lot of suburbs. So Melbourne Southeast was the first to develop. And if you look at Southeast, Officer, Clyde North, and
Right.
Clyde are the best places to invest right now.
Right.
And the reason for that is there is a train station coming up in Clyde. There's also
Right.
a shopping center coming up in Officer. And these are massive development projects, millions of dollars, billions of dollars involved. And most of the projects has a state government involved as well. So this will definitely drive prices. And if you look at the western suburbs, there's three main projects coming in. One is there is a link between the Melbourne city and the airport, and that's coming through a western suburb called Sunbury, and that's going to drive prices crazy. And then there's also a tunnel project which is happening towards western suburbs, and that's going to ease out a lot of traffic towards western suburbs. And there's also a plan of having a speed rail between Geelong and Melbourne City. So these, I mean, just to give an example, those will really drive price. So if you look at the western suburb, you have places like Wyndham Vale, Sunbury, Melton, and Tarnit. All these suburbs will be really good. If you look at the north side of Melbourne, where you get suburbs like Craigieburn, Mickleham, and the likes, Mickleham is definitely a good suburb to watch out. Mickleham is also part of Donnybrook. So you get two main estates there. One is Cloverton, one is Merrifield. I think this suburb has recorded over 30% in terms of appreciation for the past 5 years. And I think it will drive prices really, really hard because there's so many jobs being created there, about 14,000 jobs, and there's train stations coming up, there's shopping centers. It's going to be massive. So next 5 to 10 years, those are the ones to watch out for.
Sounds like it will be another Melbourne.
Yeah, it will be another city within a city.
So just to add on question for what Rashma said. Now, when it comes to the rental guarantee, what would be the expectation we are looking at in suburbs? Like, how can we guarantee this to our clients? Because we had this was a repetitive question from our clients, so they want to know how is the rental guarantee in the suburbs they select.
Yeah, now rental guarantees are given by us as well as the developers. There are certain projects in Canberra, Melbourne, as well as in Sydney. There are certain projects where developers offer rental guarantees for 2 to 3 years at about 4.5% to 5% of the property value. In terms of the suburbs, we offer the rental guarantees. We give a rental guarantee for typically 2 years. I mean, renting out in the suburbs is not at all hard, although people think it is hard because it's a bit far away. Because people who, I mean, as long as the population growth is there, and we will prove that through statistics. It's not that we are saying something with vague answers, but through statistical data, we can show that the population growth is imminent. Then you just can't, because once people are in a suburb, they are not going to go anywhere else. They'll just circulate and rotate and they'll rent. And especially the ones I was talking about before, we can offer rental guarantees for about 2 years.
Okay, that's so super. So
this shows the demand in the rental properties in Melbourne, right?
Correct. So at the moment, I mean, the city apartments is struggling, especially because of COVID. There are a lot of students who have been in these apartments and they have flown back, especially to China. Until things settle down, apartments in the city will suffer, but we haven't had any issues renting houses in the suburbs.
But I'm sure it will come back to normal because things are settling off in Melbourne at the moment.
Yeah, it will. I mean, it might take 3 to 6 months, and I'm sure unis will be back up and running.
Right. Now, one more question. Okay, now let's say, for example, I go with a property in Australia. Apart from the price I pay for a property, is there any additional charges which we need to sort of bear in mind in maintaining a house in Australia? Like, what are the other additional charges here?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So other additional charges after you purchase a property are the outgoings, such as you have to, if you're an investor, you have to take care of insurances. So you have to, the building insurance, as well as we also recommend something called landlord insurance to take care of your property. And then we have council fees, which every landlord has to pay. Then we also have water rates, not the usage. So the usage of water, gas, electricity is paid by the tenant, but water rates, which is like the sewage charges and parks maintenance fees, that has to be paid. That's very minimal. But that's the charge which you have to pay. And then if it's an investor, real estate agent fees for management of the property.
Okay.
And Navin, will these prices be on a recurring basis?
Yes, it will be. Most of the bills are on a monthly or a quarterly basis.
Okay.
On top of that, if it's an apartment, you have owners corporation or body corporation fees. It's like condominium fees for the maintenance of the property, but that does not apply for houses.
Okay, right, understood.
Naveen, we have got a question from one of our viewers. It's Mr. Singh. He have asked about, okay, we spoke, do you guys give a rental guarantee? Then he also had asked, what are the good suburbs in Melbourne? And also the price of Clyde properties. And what would be the price? So what he just roughly wanted to know what would be the prices we are looking at.
That's a lot of questions. Let's take one by one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one is price for Clyde property. So it really depends on the land size and the house size. So there are options from 480,000 upwards, where we are looking at about 200 square meters of land and about 3-bedroom house. You can buy from 480,000 up to $1 million if you want a large house. But I mean, average price for a 3-bedroom is about 480 to 530. For a 4-bedroom house, you can do from 550 to about 650. So that would be the average price. What was the other one?
Then he price of life, then, and he's asking this good suburbs in Melbourne and also the rental guarantee.
Yeah, so I think we covered that. Good suburbs are, as I said, Officer is good, Clyde is good from the southeast. Places like Rockbank, Werribee, Melton, those are good from the west. And Mickleham and Craigieburn, those are the ones to watch out in the north. In terms of rental guarantee, again, yes, depending on the project. But if it's a suburban project, if we are confident, we are offering 2 years of rental guarantee. In Canberra, there's a 7% rental guarantee for 2 years. There's also in the city, there's 5% for 2 to 3 years. So really depending on the project, but we can work that out based on the location.
Right. Thank you, Naveen, for that. And
any other questions from the viewers, guys?
Checking. Not at the moment.
Yeah.
Rashma, do you?
Right. Coming back to another question, Naveen, which Mr. Veera Singh has brought it up for me.
Yeah.
In a scenario where the client wishes to delay the construction of the house after purchasing the land, I mean, are there any restrictions or charges applicable for it?
No, they can delay it, but most of the land developers put a clause on the contract saying that you have to build within a year of transferring the property under your name. And the reason for that is, say, imagine a developer having lands for sale and everyone is buying land just to keep and resell it. That way, the developer is going to have competition with all of these buyers. So one is that, and number two is, as a developer, they want to make sure the estate looks good with houses on it. They don't want to see bare lands. So you have to build within a year in most estates. But you can delay it up to a year, but you have to definitely start.
What's the penalty if it's been delayed more than 1 year?
Depends on the developer.
Depends on.
Yeah.
Right. And also on the other hand, I mean, what would happen if the builder fails to deliver the house or the apartment as promised on the given time?
Yeah, so real estate industry is quite regulated, right, in Australia. Now, each of the builders has to have a insurance in place before they start, and that
Okay.
insurance will be given to the client as part of the contract. Now, let's say, for example, a builder starts, they go bust, they go bankrupt in the middle, right? And then what happens is the insurance will kick in, and then the client can claim it back from the insurance for the losses, and then the client has to choose another builder to take on the project. So it can be at a certain stage, it has stopped, builder couldn't continue, and then they have to go and pick it up from the insurance and then move on with another builder. It's a bit of a hassle, but then
Right.
that's why we are there for.
We'll be there to help them out.
Yeah.
Naveen, coming back to the lawyer's question, there was another question that has been brought up by a client. Does Grid Property appoint the lawyer for a client, or does the client has to use his own lawyer?
Either way, we might have, majority of the overseas clients don't have a lawyer. So we have a panel of lawyers which we work with, and we will assign one of them. If
Right.
they have a preferred lawyer, say, for example, someone overseas has a relative over here and they want to use their lawyer, that's perfectly fine. It's totally up to the client. But if the client wants to, we will assign someone from our end.
Okay.
Right, super. Now that we are reaching the last bit of our session, Naveed, this is the time we are going to share that great news. This is about the stamp duty. Now, we heard there is a reduction on the stamp duty. Is there an effect on the property market? If this happens, can we expect a price growth here? Like prices will go up, like because of stamp duty reduction here?
That was a talk of the town last week over here as well.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's now I had a question just before online on the same line. The question was, we are really confused about all the grants and concessions which is happening right now. Can you please explain what it is? So let me go back to that first. Now there's number of grants which is happening. Number one is, if you are a citizen of Australia, if you're building a property, if you sign the contract before 31st of December, you get $25,000 from federal government. And if you are a first home buyer, you will also get $10,000 from the state government. And if you are a first home buyer, you will also have 100% stamp duty waive off if the property is less than 600,000. So that's like nearly $50,000 to $60,000 of a benefit for a first home buyer who's building a property. Now, for an investor, that does not apply.
Yeah.
Say, for example, if an investor comes in, they want to buy a townhouse, apartment, or a house and land, then none of that will apply to them because they're not a first home buyer and they're not going to live in a property. So this last week, starting 25th of November, government announced that until 30th of June 2021, if you buy a property, your stamp duty will be waived off by 50%. So say, for example, you're buying $1 million property. Typical stamp duty you will be paying is about $50,000. In this instance, you are paying only $25,000. So that's a big benefit. I mean, just by those grants itself, the market has picked up, and that's the reason government was doing all these things, because they know construction is contributing 13 to 14% of the economy, and if there's impact there will be impact to the economy too. And that's exactly what they did in 2008, 2009. So it's a very smart move, and this will definitely, we can already see we are really busy locally, and there's so many inquiries coming in, and it'll definitely it'll be very encouraging to the market, as well as the market will definitely be very, very strong in the next 6 months.
Right, superb. So that's something that is going to benefit everyone, right? So, Rashmal, we just got a question in. Did you get that as well?
Yes, I've got a question from Mr. Veeragoda, Naveen. So he wants to know the benefit of buying a property before or even his child goes to Australia for studies.
Yeah, they get a property to stay. That's number one. But out of jokes, reason number one is if there's two options, right? You can either rent a property, which is what 99% of parents do. You're renting a property means you're paying someone else's mortgage. You're paying the landlord's mortgage.
Yes,
absolutely. If you really look at it, if you have the capacity to buy a property, it will be way cheaper than paying a rent. So paying your own mortgage will be way cheaper than paying a rent. So that's a massive benefit for someone who wants to buy a property for their son or daughter. And number two is it's going to be an asset, and it'll lay a platform their son or daughter if they're going to continue studies and continue working in Australia, because the property they buy will not be stagnant. It'll appreciate in value, and that they can use that and use the equity of that, and it'll be like a launch pad for their future. So, I mean, it's definitely worthwhile for the parents as well as for the child.
Right. Mr. Veeragoda, I hope you clarified your doubts. And also, have we got any more questions from our viewers, guys? Before we wrap it up for the day?
What else? Yeah, I think we have covered almost 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Time to wrap up.
Right. Naveen, I hope you have any more explanations to give out to our viewers.
No, I think we covered a pretty good set of questions, and especially the government incentives and the stamp duty concessions are something a lot of people are looking forward to. Yes. And in fact, New South Wales has totally abolished stamp duty as well. So, I mean, government knows Melbourne and Sydney are the main markets, and they are helping the economy by keeping the construction industry stable. So things are getting really, really busy, which is good. And yeah.
Great, then.
Okay, thank you very much for
thank you, Naveen. Yeah.
And thank you very much for the viewers.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Stay safe. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.